Hello, my name is Astrid,
And this is Keturah.
and you are listening to Here to Edify.
Yeah, only talk I do is edifying. They say preach, they say church when I'm testifying. Hear you running at the mouth, that's a lot
Welcome
of mileage.
to Here to Edify. If this is your first time, we are a podcast dedicated to glorifying God, uplifting people of color. And if you've been here before, you know that this is season 3 of 2 seasons that I did on my own as the host. But this season, I'm really excited because Keturah will be co-hosting with me. We have a lot of super amazing topics that we are going to dive into. And hopefully throughout this season, you'll get to know us more, get to know both who we are separately, but then also just, being on this podcast together. So to kind of break the ice, let's start with maybe Keturah, you just give us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into the icebreakers that we already had.
Okay, cool. I am Keturah Wright. I am from Louisville, Kentucky. That is where me and Astrid met, the
Yes.
greatest in the Midwest, Chicago hush. And I've been saved since I was 8, but that's when I got baptized. I would say I started actually walking with the Lord and realizing how important a personal relationship is with Him in college, really. And then I'm married. I've been married for 3 years this year, and I am 26. Stop me when I say something irrelevant. I don't know what else should be in this intro.
No, this is good.
And we're both dog moms.
Yes,
That's all you need to know.
Yes, Colo and Langston.
Besties.
But this episode, we will be diving into the topic of friendship, which I actually think is kind of perfect because it will it'll say a lot about us as we dive into our just friendship journeys along the way, how we have grown into the friends that we are today. But also, you're 26, I'm 28. We are in that space where, everyone wants to write an article about how do you make friends as adults?
Because it is the worst in this age frame.
Yes. So I think it's just really, it's a relevant topic, and hopefully we'll bring something new to the table. Cause like I said, I know this is something that many people have talked about, but I think this will be good.
So just to get you in the right mindset, do you have a best friend from growing up that you remember that's your ride or die? They don't have to be anyone you even remotely talked to today, but who was your childhood buddy?
Yeah, my close friend from childhood, her name was Courtney. When I think of who's your best friend from childhood, that's always the person I go back to.
Was she a neighborhood friend, church, school?
She was actually a church friend.
Okay.
I would spend a lot of time over her house. I would do sleepovers. Funny thing is, I hate sleepovers, and I hated them as a child. But I really enjoyed her mom, her family. So yeah. What about yourself?
That's what's up. That is so funny. I do not like sleepovers either. I actively did not like them as a child. I like my space.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like when people come to my space and touch my things. So if we do one, I will go to yours.
Yeah.
But when I think about ride or die childhood friends, it's 2 of them. And that's because we were a package deal. It's also church friends. I spent a lot of time in church growing up. My dad's a pastor. And both of these girls, Keishana and Erica, shout out to them. We are all very in different spaces right now as adults. It's hilarious just to be social media friends and see where we are. But yeah, we did everything together. Talent shows in basements, unprompted.
Oh,
all of that.
I love it. No, it's crazy. And then, so it sounds like you all are not you don't really talk as much now.
Not at all. We are all so different now.
Yeah. And I think that's crazy because you think about it, it's man, we are this is life. This is, going to be forever. And then you oh, wow, we're doing different things, and no animosity, but it's just wow, life will change and go ways that you never imagined.
When I was younger, I thought when you're no longer friends with people, it had to be animosity. But growing up, I saw very quickly oh, that's not the case.
Yeah,
it's just people have seasons in your life. And I was trying to explain this to, I'm a high school counselor, y'all. I should have said that. I was trying to explain this to one of my high schoolers. I was look, these people that are stressing you out right now, you're a senior. They might not even be relevant to you this time next year, let alone past that. Please just get through your senior year. This girl is going through it. But yeah, that's when I started learning these people are for seasons. Not everyone. And you don't necessarily have to treat people like that, but just keep that in mind as things change. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And I guess that takes us into types of friendships. I was going to ask you, when you think of friendships and types, do you have categories for friends, and what do those look like?
Yeah, so I think realistically, to say I have categories of friends, it kind of makes me cringe because sometimes it just sounds not nice.
Yeah.
But realistically, I do.
I compartmentalize. It's okay.
Yeah. I have the friends that I'm like I would say are the closest, not even necessarily in proximity, but in the whole, are you, confessing your sins one to another? Are you all like, just able to, your family is my family and we're really taking this on? I have that. I have friends where I really do view them as family, but we don't talk as much. And they're probably not the people I'm running to when something major happens. Not because I can't, but it's just, there's just a little bit more separation, Right. And so it's like, look, I'll update you when we do touch base, but I'm probably not, hitting you.
It's an active everyday thing.
Exactly. And then I have people where I talk to a lot, but I'm realizing, and I'm actually still processing through that, I don't feel as comfortable to be fully bare, but we do talk a lot. And so that's an interesting piece as well.
And a lot of that has to do with proximity. So like, when I was thinking about categories, I was like work friends. Hypothetically, you see your work friends 5 days a week. You see them more than anybody. Yeah. Y'all might talk a lot, but they might never get to like the depths of your soul. And then when I was in, when we were in school, you got your school friends, but then you have your friends that are like family from back where you were if you went to school at a different proximity than your like where you grew up. And then like you said, I have friends, but it feels funny to call them friends because they're really like my family. Like they're really very much like, I wouldn't even call you my friend. You're my sis.
Yeah.
And they might not be people that you talk to every day. They might be people you catch up with every month. But like when you see each other, you pick up easy.
Yeah.
And
No, that's good. Even just the difference in types, because like, so learning more about us, I freelance. So a lot of my work is either from home or more recently, like just touch base, like, hey, I did this project. Right. So that category for me is like,
what's a work friend?
Like a work acquaintance.
Yeah. And mine is different. Like my job, high school, college, those jobs, I was closer to those people. Okay. But going into the education world, just a random blurb. Like I'm always the youngest in the building. My position right now, I'm the only black one. So it's like, these are just more like colleagues. Yeah. Like I see you and talk to you every day, but they don't even know my husband's name. Like we just don't talk like that. So how have you like the evolution of the friend that you are? So you talked about, what was her name? Courtney?
Yes.
Would you think that you and Courtney like had it down? Like y'all are BFFs, you were a good friend to her? Or do you think like maybe you learned some lessons from Courtney, or even friends along the road that just kind of like showed you, oh, like this is what a friend should do, shouldn't do? Was it on your end or their end that you learned it? How did that go, your progression as a friend?
Yeah. So I spent a large part of my life as a trash friend.
Same.
But thank God for, maturity and
Amen.
learning.
Amen.
So when I think of Courtney, to put that in a category, I think of very young, like very, very young, where it's kind of like, this is my friend because I see her all the time. And like that's what friendship is. That, everybody, every little child you meet, that's my friend, and it's like, honey, John is not your friend. You don't know him.
Right.
So that would be there. Then when I jump to like high school, or we can smush middle and high school and all that together. I just remember kind of, as you talk about your kids and them going through, same, just being like, I literally would talk to different girls and be like, girl, yeah. And then when we have our kids and they meet up, and now I look back and I'm like, I don't know where you are. Like even on social media, I don't know where you are.
Yeah.
And so I was
in
talking
high school
forever
feels so
stuff.
Permanent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So even talking in those phases, like elementary school, that age group, I remember being a super possessive friend. Like that's the friend that I initially was. I remember distinctly one day on the playground crying because this girl that I wanted to be my best friend and my best friend only wanted to hang out with these two other kids. And I was like, this is unacceptable. Right? This is completely unacceptable. And I had to like wrap my head around, and I look forward to having these conversations with like future kids or anything like that. But I just had to wrap my head around like, your friend can be multiple. You can have more friends. They can have more friends. And so elementary, I was not a good friend. I don't know what I was. I was just going through things.
And best friend was like, you hit gold.
Yes. And so, I think that's what made me like, I don't think I've called anyone my best friend since maybe then. Girl, like that thing, it's like a cuss word to me. I don't want to call anybody my best friend. That is such a strong
like that's the
title.
curse that'll be like, we won't be friends now because I called you that.
Exactly. And I don't like, that's like choosing favorites. I don't like choosing my favorite anything. Yeah. If you ask me, Keturah, what's your favorite food? Can't choose. I also cannot not tell you who my best friend is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's just not something I like to do. And then moving into middle school and high school was just so weird for me. I was just trying to like keep my head above water. So like a little background, I went to private school until 8th grade. And so I was
Me too.
this
Crazy.
fish
All
out of
these
water.
similarities.
I was this fish out of water, the only black girl in my grade until I went to the 8th grade. And so for kindergarten through 7th grade just feels like a blur of like, y'all don't understand me or my culture, but I'm here. I'm trying to be social. And I was like, I got so far as having sleepovers with girls and stuff like that, but none of it felt like lasting. And it's not like I know them on social media, but none of those friendships like went past then. And then I got to public school for 8th grade through 12th grade and loved it. Loved everyone there, which is super hype that I was like seeing people of my color. Yeah. But I was so self-conscious about, I don't want to be like, multiple people were like, you're this white acting black girl. Like, we don't understand you. Like, you clearly stand out. And I didn't want to be that person. Yeah. And then I tried to overcompensate. And like most of the black students from my school were from like another side of town, had a totally different culture. And so if you lived on my side of town, it was typically the white kids. And so like even to my black peers, I had to like overcompensate and like some stuff I don't even like, that wasn't really my life just to feel like I had to fit in. So when I talk about high school, I'm like, I was cool with people and I talked to people and we laughed and hung and whatever, but like none of those people really know the real me at all. And so those like I called them my friends then, but again, going into college, like those kind of friendships, they died. Like that season ended. And I always feel bad now looking on Facebook because I'm like, why they're in such a wedding? Like these people are friends. Like they were best friends in high school and they are best friends now. That is wild. No. And I'm just like, sometimes I have regret because I'm like, why weren't you a better friend? Why weren't you like open? You had these experiences, you had these times, but yeah, proximity and all of that. Everybody went to college in different places. That just messed it up. And I was like, I mean, I don't have like a lot of regrets because I think the Lord has placed who needs to be in my life now. But yeah, it's crazy looking back and be like, was I a bad friend? I don't think I was a bad one. I was just like a non-existent. Like, you don't know me.
Yeah. And I think that high school is a pivotal time where like, either you have people where like I have a cousin, her best friend, they have literally known each other, I want to say since middle school. And
that
I'm like,
blows my mind.
Wow. Like, wow.
I had one friend from middle school that was in my wedding. And every time I talk to her, I'm like, I'm shocked that we are here. But it's because we both have a no pressure attitude about like it's okay if we don't talk for weeks. We both are very, very graceful in that.
And I think it's the type of people so as I said, same, I went to private school all the way up until 8th grade. 8th grade to senior year was public school. And I would say too, it was like this, I'm here, but I also hated high school. So I was kind of like, I'm trying to get out. Yeah. And so I guess also to give a slight zoom in on what I was dealing with or where I was, I was trying to graduate high school in 3 years. So the class that I was in, I wasn't going to graduate with them. So I was kind of like, I'm here and I'm happy and y'all are cool, but I'm also trying to graduate. Yeah. And so my mind was more so there. And if you were fast forward, I have one friend from high school. And I think similar to what you're saying, she was just had a maturity about her where it was kind of just like, listen, we cool. She's from Sierra Leone. And I remember her always telling me like, listen, girl, no, we're both black. Like, don't try to put but you're African. And I'm like, she was like, no, listen, we're both black. Yes, we know that there's different culture there, but there was just something about her where I honestly, I say she's the reason why we're still friends now. Cause even when I came back from college one summer, I don't know what prompted me. Cause I'm usually the person that's like, oh, I don't want to text or reach out. But like she came and she was like, oh my goodness, hey. And just like started talking like we had just seen each other a week before.
And I love that. I love when you could just pick back up.
Yes.
Like I do not like those people too, that you're like, if I hit them up, I'm gonna hear about it, how we ain't talked in a year. And it's just like, that's not necessary.
Or they're gonna be weird.
Life happens. Yes. Or act like you're two completely different people, which maybe you are, but after a quick catch up, you will see like the things that are the root of you are still there. The reason that y'all are still cool.
Yeah. And so I think stuff like that, I'm thinking about that now. That was probably a small shift in me of like, oh, So this like friendship can be this. So I don't see you every day. And I should say she actually was in my graduating class.
Okay.
And so we, started off being friends where she was like, oh, this girl is in my Spanish class. She's constantly giggling. I don't got time for her. But then we got sat next to each other because the teacher would always change the seating, I guess, every semester. And she was like, oh, you're actually cool. And we just
That is exactly how me and my friend Dad had since middle school.
Really?
Like both of us are K Smith and just being alphabetical. Our teacher put us next to each other. And again, she was very mature for her age. And we were, immediately the vibes were just there. And we've been there ever since. So that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Thank you, teachers.
Right.
For sitting people in the way that you do and making friendships
Seating
that
charts.
last. I don't like a lack of seating chart, at least a lack of seating chart. Like,
no.
when I was a teacher and my students would be like, can I pick my seat? I'm like, why?
No,
like,
we need structure.
I am not going to do that to the students with anxiety.
Yeah.
So when you look back at like that evolution, is there one or maybe two friendships that like really affected you? Like maybe it was negatively or positively. They just really taught you like, hey, moving forward, I have to move like this with friends or like think in this way.
Yeah. So if we jump again to college.
Yep. Totally different friendship.
Yeah,
field.
that I will say when my big view of friendship like got a crack in it where all right, this is gonna really start shifting. So when I say I was a trash friend, yes, there are many reasons behind that, but one of the big ones is when stuff got tough, I would pre-mourn. I'd be like, okay, we're gonna have to let these people go. So I'd be like, all right, breathe in, breathe out. You about to lose a friend. This is me quote unquote mourning it, preparing to lose this friend, and just kind of being like, all right, well, that's it. So freshman year of undergrad, freshman year of college, I hung out very closely with this guy and this girl, and we were kind of like the three of us. We hung together really close. I can't even remember what it was now, but there was some sort of rift, and I saw the girl. She was kind of honestly like I probably would have handled things like, well, it's not working out. Like, all right, bye, whatever. But I remember the guy, Denzel, because that's my brother. He came to my room and I remember I'm sitting on the bed and he's like sitting in a chair in front of me and he's like, all right, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Like I'm bawling, tears coming down my eyes because y'all, I'm a crybaby. And I'm like, so da-da-da, and this is just how I feel. And I feel like da-da-da-da. And he just sat there and was like, all right, I hear you. Okay. And like, that was the first time in my life that I saw someone like fighting for a friendship.
Yes.
And then it was just like, wait. We can have a disagreement and come back.
Yeah, no, that's like a revolutionary moment. Because when I think about like the friendships that I had that failed in high school, it was like, oh, cut off.
Yeah.
Like, it's done. Ain't no coming back from that. And I mean, I think we used to talk about girls. I would talk about girls and be like, oh, they hate each other this week and they best friends the next week. That's weird. But I mean, at least they came back together.
Right, exactly.
Maybe in toxic ways. But no, if you saw me with somebody and it was known that we had some issues, which that only literally, I could think of one high school friend that it was like it wasn't a natural fall off. Like we fell out and I was like, well, we're not having a discussion. Like it's a wrap. And so, but that's not healthy. Like you said, like the moment where you get to sit there with a friend and talk it out, that's revolutionary.
Yeah. And I'll even say that was the moment, but consistently with him, I feel like, he wasn't doing it purposely, but just teaching me was that like, he'd be like, oh, okay, you got an attitude today. I don't care. Moving on. I'll talk to you. Like it was just very much so like, I'm not letting this affect me. I know who you are. I've accepted all of who you are.
Exactly.
Next.
And I think that's it. Accepting all of somebody.
Yes.
A lot of times you meet somebody and when you become friends, you rarely make somebody like their friend on their bad day.
Yeah.
Because then you think, oh, she got an attitude. I'm not going to deal with her at all. But you meet them on a good day, in a good mood, and then when the tough gets going, it's like, do you want to deal with that?
Yeah.
It's all of me.
Like, oh, this how
But that's
you
the mark
are.
of like some real good, true friendship.
Yes. And so I think, that for me, what would you say for yourself?
I think the most like, again, college, the most like reflective friendship I ever had was, it went from freshman year to senior year. And I say was because it no longer exists.
Okay.
But we were roommates junior and senior and for sophomore year. Like this is a friend that like, if we went somewhere separately, a lot of times people would be like, oh, where's the other one? Like we were very close and we gained a lot of friends. We had a lot of mutuals around us, but it was always like, if these two are in a room, no matter how many mutuals are around them, these two are going to fight for each other. Like, forget all of that. And so our senior year, though, well, between our junior and senior year, we both went through some things separately. So she went through a lot of personal things that like really crushed her. I went through a lot of personal things that really crushed me that we're both probably sitting in counseling about. And we didn't come together on those things because we didn't know how to. I did not know how to talk to somebody about what I had gone through. I don't think she knew how to talk to me about what she'd gone through. And she did eventually. And even then I was hurt because I was like, I can't believe you're telling me so far after the fact. Like, just stuff like that. But one day we lived together. She calls me to her room and sat me down and was just talking about, in general, why she felt like our friendship was deteriorating. So this was like the first time I can remember a conversation like this where someone that was really close to me was like just calling me on my stuff. And that's when I was like, oh, you are a crap friend. Like you had these moments, you did these things, and we like had some conversation. And then, all of a sudden she was like, and because of all these deteriorating things, that's why I felt like I could do this thing. And it was like this big betrayal. And I was like, whoa. Like I was like really, really, really crushed, really, really shocked. And when she said it, like we might have said 20 words to each other since she said that sentence. That's how blown I was. Like I got up and I was like, I have to walk out of this room or we might end up throwing hands. Like I got to get out of this house. And so I got up, I walked out. I went to like, I went to, Cheyenne now. I went to Cheyenne's room. And it's funny because I'm a senior and she's a freshman. And so I just go to her dorm because it's the closest one. And she was like the friend that betrayed me, all of our mutuals, a lot of them knew. And so I didn't feel like I could trust any of them either. Okay. And so this is like the downfall of a lot of college relationships this day. And so I was like, oh, I can't go cry to them. I can't go cry to them. And I was like, she's not attached to her or anybody in this circle. Let me go talk to her. And she was just like she listened well, but I was like, she probably thinks I'm psychotic. Like this girl that's a senior supposed to be helping her through life is ended up crying on her bed. And I'm just ranting and venting about everything. But ever since then, because of like the lack of apology and just like realizing like by the time I simmered down, we were both in such different places in life. I was like, wow. But that was a friendship that like, because I graduated in 17 and then got married in 18. I never in a million years imagined my wedding without her like next to me, let alone not even invited. So it was just really, really wild and hurtful. But that was a friendship that like, even though at the end of it, everybody was like, oh, Keturah, you were definitely like the wronged one in that situation. I still thought about the things that she said before that made me the wrong one. Like what made her get to that point. And so I did think about a lot of those things, and those have like stuck with me since.
Yeah, no, that's man. It's like it's always but the needing of these like big moments because they shift us in a way. And I think that even
I've been such a like intentional internal second guessing every move and word to a friend person since then. Because I'm just like, I don't know. Am I doing this right?
And I love that word intentional because I feel like for me, that has become like the umbrella over how do I make a good friendship, or at least how do I do my part to make sure this is a good friendship?
Yeah, for sure.
And like for me, like that main ingredient is intentionality.
I think that was a common word in like the friend group that we met in, like just in that space that we were in Louisville, in our churches. There's a lot of intentionality, and that's what made it what it was.
Yes.
And it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think everybody realized what you have to do. Like it can't just be on one person or a one-sided thing. Yeah, that was really good. I'm trying to think. The Bible said some good things about being a friend. I just want to bring up that Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. And I think it's interesting. Like the Bible doesn't talk about a friend often. A lot of times when the Bible talks about what we would talk about as friends, it's like brothers or neighbors, because it doesn't even use the word friend a lot. But what it does in this verse, it brings up adversity. And we just kind of talked about that. Like friends are like friends, thick, thin, up, down, like adversity.
Yeah. And I think just like the whole like calling you on, being able to call you on your stuff. So you think of, and like you said, the Bible doesn't often use that word friend, but the person that's able to admonish you too when you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm not just here to cheer you on, which is super important, but I'm also here to be like, hey, these are some ways I think that like you're not hitting the mark, you know, or and obviously those things, you know, look different depending on the situation, but that's also.
Do you take that well from non-believer friends? So I was going to ask you, like, what's your non-believer to believer friend ratio? And is that an important thing as a believer?
That's a really good question. So I will say that, again, overall, I have a lot of my main friends, they came from college. And then moving to Louisville, which was shortly after college, was the other main group of like main point in my life where I'm like, okay, this is where I have a good chunk of friends. Louisville was where I accumulated the most of my believing friends.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, and I probably had like maybe one or two from college, and maybe one that I'm actually like close with. And so, which I guess it could be seen as a pivotal as well, I learned like what it looks like to be a friend, but also like how the Bible calls us to walk with one another. Like essentially when I think of Louisville, I think of just being convicted about like, you don't have the right to just drop someone because it's not easy. That's not to say that you stay in toxic friendships, but what I'm saying is if there's a little tiff or a rift, like I don't have the right as a believer to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Bye. Because realistically, this is eternal. And so it's like, if you are in this to fight with this with me and fight for this, and we're like, listen, we're going to let God call us to the mat together, then I'm going to be here. Right. And so ratio wise, I would say now more of my friends are close friends. More of my friends are believers. But I try to be reminded, because it's easy sometimes to be like, I don't want a friend that's not a believer, because, you know, like we're just on different, you know, pages, different books. But I feel like the Lord has even been convicting me, like you know, it's not for naught that we have these friends, these people in our lives. Right. And two, my non-believing friends, they are from college. Okay. And so there's a history there. Right. The fact that we're even still friends says something. Right. You know, like we've been sticking in this. And so I'm often reminded, you know, I'm a believer. You've known this from the jump that like I'm serious about my faith. And so the fact that you're still friends with me, like you have wisdom, you know, God gives wisdom, you know, and not only to just his children. And so, yeah, I look at those as friendships to help keep me like, yes, your Christian friends keep you accountable, but those keep me accountable in a different way. Yeah. Because it's like
your life is a
showing
testimony
up
to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what you doing? How are you responding? I can't be talking crazy. Right. Yep. Exactly.
Yep. But I didn't really think about that till after college. Like during college is when I started walking more with the Lord, and I had some friends on like a similar wave. But when I graduated, I think I got grounded more. I was heavier in my church fam more. And I looked up and was like, okay, but I still have these friends from college, but they are not on the same wave. Like, what do I do? And we like, there's too much history. There's too much love there to like cut them off. Yeah. So, and like you said, they've known that like I've been a Christian since the beginning. So it's not that I've all of a sudden switching up to the point of like unbearableness. It's just I'm a little bit more serious, a little bit more focused. But yeah, the friends that I'm thinking about that have seen me through like the ugly, the close to God, the not close to God, like I'm super grateful for them. Like I'm super grateful that they have loved me through it all and they've always, like, if they did call me out as in a loving way, they've never made me feel like a hypocrite when they could have. They never made me feel like any kind of way about that. And then, yeah, the believer friends, I think I found myself trying to accumulate them. So like we have that the friend group in Louisville. And then when I got married, I was like, now I need couple friends. Yeah. And now I need, because like you don't need all your friends to be married, but you need some people you can talk to that are like on the same wave. And so the same season. That same season, it matters a lot. And so, and then moving here to Maryland, where we are, it was just like, okay, we got to start all over. But God's been super gracious. I prayed about it so hard from like like months before we moved here, and he's been super, super good. Like, we have been surprised by friends from our Louisville fam that are here now. The fact that we're both here together, and like that seems to be going well. And then like friends that we've made at the church, and then friends that we've made just socially. I'm just like, wow, Lord, like I don't feel lacking in community, whether it's people that are saved or people that are not. Like, I'm grateful to you. And I think for me, it's no shortage of people I can be friends with that are not Christians. Like I said, like in the workplace, everybody's not a Christian, obviously. I have to actually work and be intentional to go for the saved friends. And that's because I think growing up, when I thought of like the friends that actually were like looking like they were walking with Christ, especially as we were kids, I would look at them like, why are you like that? Like, why are you that person? Cool. Ew. Yeah. Can I even listen to what I want to listen to around you? Yeah. But then like, that's like a convicting thing now. I'm like, okay, I want to get in the car and listen to Megan Thee Stallion, but will this person be turned off because of where they are in their Christian walk? And should that make me second guess listening to Megan Thee Stallion? Or should I only go for friends that are in my car that will let me listen to anybody? Like, it's just, you got to gauge what is good for you in your walk, and who will hold you accountable.
No, and I definitely say that now I do find myself looking for and desiring, like, okay, I have a lot of friends, you know, but in my effort to not be on that no new friends, you know, tip, I'm like, I want more Christian friends.
Oh, I hate that tip.
Yeah, no exactly. I'm like, listen, you trust me, you always gonna need people.
Listen,
you always gonna need
Drake
people.
got a lot of bars, but I really hate that. I hate what it did to people, because they were actively like not trying to be kind and open and welcoming, and I'm like, ugh.
But I look for believing friends, and I say specifically one, like you said, so you're in Maryland, I am currently in Virginia, so that DMV area. For me, that like Christian friends, quote unquote, means community. So it's like, maybe if I didn't live here, I wouldn't even know half of y'all's name when I think of like people at church. Right. But we are in this community together. And so I have my close friends. But if we're going to be doing life together, then I need to know a few of y'all real close. Yeah. So I'm trying to go deep with like a few of y'all. So it's really just trying to figure out like, Lord, who's here for
down?
Me? Yeah. Like,
and
who's
not every
intentional?
Church group knows how to do community.
No.
That is not a normal thing. So coming out of college, my first church experience, and I keep referencing that church experience because it's just different when you're just in a church because your dad's that pastor. Yes. When I graduated college in my senior year was the first time I got to like be in a church because I wanted to be in it. I chose a pastor. I chose a community. And that just like had a massive effect on me and my walk. And not to say like no shade to dad, but anyway, we went from that church to another church, and I was like, oh, everybody doesn't do community groups. Everybody isn't doing life on life, walking together, accountability, confessing to it. Like, what is going on? And it's funny because we went to a church that everyone there, like my age, had been there since they were like 5. So they could have been like, there was the ground was there for y'all to be the bestest, closest friends. And they all knew each other's business. They all knew each other's cousins, aunts, and mom and dad, and who was sick and shut in, but they did not know each other's sin. They did not know what, like, they probably even knew how they could pray for each other, but it just wasn't like intentional. It wasn't like real community.
It's like I can be standing next to you and not know nothing about you.
They were not doing real life. Yeah. And so I was like, this is not everywhere. This is something that like moving forward, we gotta like pray about and seek out.
And that's crazy because you take, like, I wouldn't say even take it for granted, but you're just like, you don't realize that this isn't everywhere.
Because it feels like a general Christian thing to do. Yes. But the more you get into churches, the more ideas you have of what's the general Christian thing to do, you will see churches operate differently.
But you know what I have been learning, because I would say the same. For me, it's more so this experience. I didn't have that inner room that you all had, but I have just learned that, like, yes, not everybody has that, but then it's like, okay, that goodness and that grace that I had, like, because even for you, Louisville was a pivotal part in your Christian walk, and for me it was as well. I would say that was, it was a few years after college, but it was like that was the place where the Lord is like, all right, sit down. Yeah, I need you to start really walking with me.
A lot of work.
Yes. And so it's like, all right, that was a grace that you decided to grow me in a place that did community well. And so now I'm like, dang, the Lord is kind of getting on me. Like, I've showed you how to do community. And so you can't just go everywhere and expect to be a receiver. Like, you've got to give
initiate,
too.
yeah.
And you'll find people that are like, they're willing to be on that tip, but
sometimes you have to be taught it.
Yes.
Sometimes it has to be like shown.
Yes.
We try to show it through example of that previous church I'm talking about. And some people were down, you know, they were kind of like, eh. And like I said, they've been together for years. So it was really hard to break that mold that they were in.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just got to go where you are and model it if you don't see it. And we've done it with a few families really well here at this church that we're already at, which, like I said, I prayed and thank God for his grace that it has happened. But I was going to ask you, is there a situation or, I don't know, scenario in which you're like, oh, I cannot be friends with this person? So we talked about like, no new friends is out the window. We're open to everybody. But once you are open, are you like, oh, I actually can't? No.
So what I will say has always been a red flag for me.
Okay.
Red flag. Is especially with girls, I would kind of gauge like, oh, I'm trying to figure out the best way to like kind of explain it or put words to it. But if I saw you and you seem like the type of person where when and if we do have a kind of a rift, you would like go straight to cut me off at the knees, I'd be like, that is not who I want to be friends with, because you can get vicious and mean in a way that like, I'm not trying to be stabbed and beat and all this other stuff. But I will say that, to kind of caveat that, I have a friend that my initial meeting of her, that was my thought.
Okay.
And she don't play, but I will say she is a believer. And so I do think that there is an outworking that the Spirit does, that even if we all, you know, because realistically, even the sweetest person, you make somebody mad enough, we can all get grimy.
Yeah. Like,
know?
I have a side. It's never to people like that I love. It's always like, if you come for someone that I love.
Yeah. And so I will say that's my caveat is this one friend of mine that we're good friends. I'm like, but I know the Spirit's work in her is, if we have an issue, we talking that out. We're not fighting that out or being ruthless. Right. But that has always been my thing, is if I see something in you that's like, oh, you're just mean. Yeah. Like, you could be really mean. That's kind of my like, yeah, no, yeah, that would be my thing. What about you?
See, it takes a lot for me to have some red flags. Like I said, I am open to everybody. I think my biggest red flag currently in my state of life is not even a red flag. It's just somebody I can't be friends with. I hate when I run into guys that I'm like, if I were not married, we could have been cool. So like, I'm not in like the space where I'm not allowed to have guy friends, but it's hard to have guy friends outside of my marriage. And that's not like a biblical thing. That's just like a preference thing, like a Christian thing. Like, I don't think you're out here just hanging out with married men.
No,
so
no.
It's hard.
I don't want to.
Yeah. Like, even on a platonic thing.
Yes.
And everybody has like a debate about that. Like, that is a very like debated topic, even amongst Christians that are married or Christians that are single.
I'm like, let's be wise, especially not one-on-one. Like,
right.
We can be friends.
And
we
it
can
sucks
be cool,
because usually I've met them one-on-one. Like, it might be a guy at work, and it might be like a guy at, I don't know, BJ just happened to walk away and he walked up or something like that. But yeah, that right now is like, that's the friend that I think about, that like, yeah, we could have been majorly cooler, but now it's like, I hope my husband like you, otherwise I won't be talking to you or hanging with you. We ain't gonna text. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
R.I.P. to the friends we could have been.
R.I.P. man. Platonic, like, because I was that platonic friend, and like that's a lot of, and that's where it comes from. Because me right now, I'm like, yeah, you can have platonic friends. Well, not right now, but when we first got married, and then BJ was like, see, I have a different experience of platonic friends and how that looks when, and how that's gone. And so he was kind of more iffy. And so you also just have to go off people's experiences and respect that. Yeah. And so, yeah, I was really good at that and with that, but I completely understand that now it just looks different. And you have to be like above reproach. Like, if you saw me walking around with some guy and he was nowhere to be seen, and it's like, this man is not related to me, you'd be like, so,
what is happening?
Yeah, what's going on? So I don't even need to be in a situation where I'm being questioned. But those are the friends that I'm like, dang.
Yeah. It's just such a fine line. It's like, we don't even, that's a whole topic to get it. But it's such a fine line between like, some people can just like do opposite sex friendships well. And some people, it's just like,
so you're single. You mentioned Denzel. You said it's like your brother. Do you have like a good, not a good amount, but do you have platonic friendship with guys?
I do, but what I'm learning, I'm like, okay, Lord, okay. Denzel is probably the only friend for me that there's been nothing. Like he's like, I'm like, probably helps that I'm not attracted to him in that way, but I feel like I can even be like now because we've been friends so long. I'm like, look, you look handsome today. You look nice. But like, he's just my brother. He is. Now the other friendships of mine, male friendships, if I'm being real honest with myself, I've caught feelings.
Yeah. It can be tough, man. It can be tough. I don't know what happened to me. Maybe it's like you only had brothers or you always played co-ed sports growing up, but I will like friend zone and stick to that. And then I totally I take everything as being friend zoned. And I've only had like a couple of friends growing up or times where I've been like, oh, some lines have been crossed or blurred and here we are. Or I used to hate when you got older and dudes would there have definitely been moments where it's like you portrayed as with this started platonic, but then you do something in on the low there. Now I'm like, well, and that's RIP to the friend that could have been.
And that's the thing is just also, side note, we'll probably get into this. I am Christians against flirting. I think that flirting sucks.
Christians against flirting.
And listen, I'm not saying this as someone that doesn't, but I'm just it's so easy to just throw in something. And so it's I would be open. I personally want more single male friends because I just think that there's a lot we can learn from them, from each other, that I'm me just being surrounded by women is great. But I can't they can't speak to a man in the way that you can.
Right.
So that is something that I desire more of. But like I said, it's just kind of it's a wonky fine line. But what I have enjoyed and pray that the Lord would even grow that is with my married friends to be able to be friends with the husband and the wife. Yeah. And to this is, this friendship obviously is different because you're married, but it's this communal friendship where I get this male point of view. Exactly. And it's just no, y'all talk to me. And you really do feel like if I had a sister that's married, and it's this is my brother-in-law. I'm probably not, chilling, hanging with my brother-in-law either.
We don't text, but I'm gonna still see you.
Exactly. and for the brother-in-law, for a caveat, not to say that one can't, but I'm just saying that probably would, similar wouldn't be oh, we're just gonna go on a trip together.
Yeah, that's just not the norm.
Exactly. But like you said, I have access to be hey, what's up? What's going on? Just kind of I have appreciated the friendships where I have married couples and they're able to speak into my life and they almost more so feel like brothers because it's oh, well, I already know you have a wife.
Yeah, all things are down.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly. So I can just breathe and just be listen.
Yes. Man, I pray for the platonic friendships out there. I'm an advocate, and I'm I know it can happen. It's just hard. It's sometimes it's one person, and sometimes it's two people. Yeah, but it is just hard. But what was I gonna say? Oh, can you be close with somebody after being close friends? I mean, not close. Can you be cool with somebody after being close friends and then not anymore? So say me and you fell off, not out, but off. And didn't even talk for 2 years. And maybe there was some hurt there. Maybe there were some question marks. But then we come back later all of a sudden. And they're just I'm not hey, let's be besties and do a podcast again. But let's just catch up, talk. Can you be cool with people after that?
Yeah, I mean, so I hate when people it's all about the energy. But realistically, I think the energy someone comes back with, if someone is coming back with sincerity, I will say I am a softie for no, let's do this. And if you are sincere, and we're able to be open and honest with each other, then let's do that. I'm here for it. So I would say I could. I think it would just it would be again that intentionality and that sincerity of let's talk about this, because we got to have some sort of closure. Let's not ignore it.
Listen, man, why doesn't everybody value closure? Just in general, closure is so important. And I think some people try to make you feel like you doing a lot, or you extra, or you crazy because you want some. But closure is normal. Yes. I feel like it's the more mature route to go. Yeah. But even if,
and it can look different ways. Even if someone's I don't have an answer for you, but this, but there needs to be some
sort of. I gotta do what's best for me. Something simple. Yes. But a lack of words, that could be tough. we can come back from it. Just know that it is tough.
Yeah. And even more so though, if you want to come back but you don't want to address it, then that I'd be like, I don't know that we can come back because we got to address, because now in the back of my head,
it's like an elephant in the room
yes.
every time we're talking.
And I'm like, so what we gonna do about this thing?
Yes.
It's taking up a lot of space.
Yes. Like the
yeah.
one friend that I was talking about in high school that I was like cut her off. That was probably during fall. Like I was playing volleyball and then we ran track together. So we come back to track season and she's acting like nothing happened, like trying to be cool again, like sit with me at the track meets like we used to. And I let her because I was like nice in high school, and just like would not, I was just kind of always side-eyeing though, like, but sis, like we're not addressing what
and
you did.
And I get it, because like sometimes it's easier. I have been that person that's like, I don't want to talk about this, and if they're not, but I've just learned like wisdom. No, that's not it.
No,
like this needs to be talked through.
It's there in your head, and then if you
It'll
don't,
fester.
Everybody doesn't have that wisdom to know it's there, so they might be really just like waltzing, thinking everything's Gucci. Don't know about the elephant in your head. Like, no, we gotta talk. And I think we've already touched on this, but I just want to emphasize it because it's important in our 20s. We talked about how hard this age range is for friends. Do you need constant communication to be considered friends? And I laugh because girls' answers is always different from men.
Well, yes. Yeah.
I'm the friend that like my longest two friends that I've had that were like in my wedding, known them since middle and high school. We all might talk like 2 or 3 times a month, which it's not constant. It's not every day. It's not every week. And I don't need that. I'm one of those people we can easily pick back up. Because you ask me on a Monday how life is, it's likely it's the same on a Friday. Yeah. So I'm definitely not that person that you have to call me every day.
Like, let me get some updates,
and
then I'll be able to.
And I hate repetitive conversations. Like, it blows my mind that my mother can talk on the phone every single day. I'm like, who are you talking to? Do you just have that long of a list of friends in like your catch-up rotation? Or are you and Barbara talking about stuff that's the same as Wednesday? Like, why do y'all talk that much?
Oh, man. So I will say, because majority of my friends were like from college. Yeah. And then I graduated. I moved away. Everybody kind of dispersed. I feel like because of that, I am well acquainted with what friendship is when we are not in proximity. So that was also kind of a pivotal point too. So phone for me is huge. And like I spoke of Denzel, he gets mad at me if I call him on the phone. He's like, listen, we're FaceTiming. Like, I'm gonna see your face. This is how we communicate.
If we're gonna talk at this point.
Like,
if we can talk in a month, I may as well FaceTime you. Yeah.
But I think for me too, it's just levels. I have some friends where we do talk more so every 2 or 3 months, you know, because just that's the way that life is, but we have a mutual understanding. But then also it is too, like, hey, if you ever in the area, we catching up. Like, you can't, like, we're calling, but we're also planning to meet up. I have some friends that we gonna talk at least once a week, if not more, and that's our baseline. Like we those are the ones that it's like we in each other's lives. Like, that's us walking together via the phone.
Yeah. And those proximity friends, you mentioned like, well, you might talk more if you're in proximity. I think I talk to those people even less. Like, I might text you, but my text is saying, let's go meet in person. Yeah. Like, if you're a proximity friend, I just want to see you. Exactly. I just want you to come over. I want to go to the mall. I want to go eat. Like, we're about to go hang. No, I'm still not going to text you every day. Like, if I text you, it's like the purpose.
Yeah. No, 100%. I would 100% agree with that. Like, if you right here, when we meeting up next.
I'll that's all we're talking about. Yes, exactly.
I'll fill you in. Like, I am not, we are not doing this because that's a necessity with everybody else. We have to do that. We don't have to do that.
Yes.
Man.
Well, I'm glad we got into some friendship stuff. Hopefully we have brought up some things for people to think about. Yeah. And edified them to remember, like the Bible says, friends are made for times of adversity. So I think if you got anything from this, ignore all of our opinions and our stories and anecdotes. Maybe you got something from that. But the biggest thing being like being intentional. Yes. That's important.
Intentionality.
And if you are a believer, community is important. If you're not, if you look up and realize you're one of those churches we was talking about that's like not doing community well, maybe just you and like 2 other people, y'all start doing community. And people like notice Life on Life. Yes. And people see that and the effects of it, and it's super helpful. Like, it will grow for sure.
And I would even add that for the Christian, that if you do, because like I said, I think it was a great question where you asked about the ratio of believing friends versus non-believing. And I think that does say something about you. We know that, statistics say the, 5 closest people, that really is a reflection of you. And so I would say for the believer, if you look around and you're like, majority of my friends aren't believers, then that's kind of a little bit of a red flag.
And that's not saying cut them off.
Yeah.
I'm just saying add some believers.
Exactly.
Add some accountability.
Exactly.
And I don't think anybody's main circle should just be an echo chamber. So I think you should have a mix, like 3 to 2, 4 to 1, whatever it be. I don't think it's good for believers to look up and realize you only know believers.
Yeah.
Like it's not good.
100%.
For,
yeah.
Completely. Like I don't think it's good for anybody, whatever you are, to look up and be like, I only know people that are exactly like me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I would also say, because this is something that I got from a podcast on friendship that I listened to, I would challenge you as the listener to think about your closest, believing friends and challenge them like, hey, do you all feel close enough to share your sins, where are we close enough to share our sins, to one another and really be like, hey, pray for me on this, or, if I'm slipping, I want you to tell me about myself. So I think that like, an application I would say is pour into. Sometimes we have to be the pressure in those friendships. And if they're good, they're going to respond to it. Those friends around us are going to be like, oh, yo, this is good. Also, we didn't get into this, but one thing that has been helpful for me as well is flowers. Like, give your friends flowers. And I don't mean physical flowers, even though those are nice, but like, let's tell our friends and the people around us that we love them and we appreciate them while they're here.
There's no shortage of hype in our circle.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, you got your nails done? Hyping you up. Like,
I see you.
For the smallest things. Yes. Like, hype your people up. Give them their flowers.
Yeah. And so, and honestly, that really just falls under intentionality.
Yeah. So. And people that aren't even your people. There are people that are my people because we met hyping each other up. Yeah. Like, hype some strangers. Yes. You never know what might happen.
Yes.
So this was Here to Edify. Again, I'm Keturah.
And I'm Astrid. And we hope to see you next time.
Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Only talk I do is edifying. They say preach, they say church when I'm testifying. Hear you running at the mouth. That's a lot of mileage.